My name is Ricky Reslavian, and I will stop at nothing to teach the world about itself. Hold on to your seats, because the Emperor is here. Oh hey, thanks for tuning in. I love being out here in nature. I mean, just look at these ferns. Smell that. Oh, that's refreshing. Hey, while we're out here, we might as well talk about ancient Persia. Today we are going to be moving to the east and looking and talking about the mighty Persian Empire. So as you can see on the map, Persia was huge. It spanned from the Indus River Valley all the way to Asia Minor and even would eventually reach into parts of Egypt. But the Persian Empire was not always a huge superpower. Originally, the people that were the Persians were groups of nomadic tribes that lived in modern-day Iran. And these people were basically desert herders, meaning they followed their flocks and herds of sheep and goats and cows as they sought to find greener pastures and water for their animals. So they didn't live in one place. They basically were constantly traveling, and this is the people that would eventually develop into the all-powerful Persian Empire. And it was this man, Cyrus, who first created the Persian Empire. And what he was able to do was he was able to successfully unite the Persians and get them to work together. Cyrus created an army, he built an army, and he used that army to conquer and control regions from east to west, including the great famous city of Babylon. Cyrus is particularly noteworthy for being a benevolent ruler, a kind ruler. He let the people practice their own religion. He freed the Jews who had been in an exile in Babylon, and he actually is known as creating the world's first document on an understanding of human rights. So Cyrus was generally seen as a really good ruler, but he had a problem. He had a huge empire to control. How could he possibly do it? It wasn't like today when if you wanted to get information out, you could use the internet or your smartphone or even the media on the TV today. So in Persia, they developed a system, a network of roads that was used to communicate information from east to west. The most famous of the roads of the Persian Empire was the Royal Road, which linked the town of Sardis to the city of Susa. And this had a system of aid stations that were spread out and a way for people to be able to replenish their supplies and rest, and they would be able to communicate messages from one end to the other. And so that was the royal. Our next leader was Darius. Now, Darius understood and realized that this empire was too large to control, and so he divided the empire into smaller administrative provinces known as satrapies. Each of these satrapies was to be ruled and controlled by a satrap, which literally means protector of the kingdom. But when it comes down to it, they basically served as a regional governor, making sure the logistical and bureaucratic things took place in each of these provinces. The satrap was the judge, the satrap enforced the law, and the satrap recruited soldiers for the king. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the satrap was responsible to report back to the king. One of the jobs of the satrap was to recruit soldiers for the army. The Persian army, the backbone of the king's power, was a full-time professional army, and this is what enabled the Persian kings to control the territory that they conquered. A really important piece of the Persian army was a special elite fighting force known as the Immortals. The Immortals were 10,000 soldiers who, when one died, were immediately replaced. And so that's where the term Immortals comes from. Their job was to protect the king, but ultimately they served to spread and enhance the king's power by their reputation. It's noteworthy that in Persia, the faith of Zoroastrianism first emerged, and Zoroastrianism was founded by a preacher named Zoroaster, who essentially said there's the force of good and evil in the world, and that good would triumph over evil in the end. So that is Zoroastrianism. Now Persia, we're going to see, becomes particularly important to the Western world when it comes into conflict with the small city-states on its western frontier, the Greek city-states. Now the reason we know so much about this conflict was because there was a Greek man living in one of the colonies in Asia Minor that was controlled by Persia. This man's name was Herodotus. He lived in Halicarnassus, and he grew up during the conflict between Greece and Persia. It's from his writings, his histories, that we know so much about the Persian War. And it's because of his inquiry into what happened, his finding out what happened by talking to different people, is the reason why he is given the name the Father of History. So we thank Herodotus for helping us understand and gaining insight into the past. And so it's because of this that we are going to honor Herodotus today. Let's give it up for Herodotus and his histories.